KBLAI. Pro tip, just type in Dr. NIIQ, GRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580, and there we are for your listening pleasure. Subscribe to a More Perfect Union podcast and never, ever, ever miss an episode. And go ahead and pick up your copy of Kamala, the Motherland, and Me, my new Amazon bestseller. Really proud of that work, which I still call required reading for this inflection point in world history. Now, it's time for the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. It's time for your national news roundup. Kicking us off, the Ethics Committee chairman says no agreement to release the Gates report. That's right. ABC News is reporting that, well, not much of a surprise to a lot of folks who've been following this closely. The bipartisan House Ethics Committee met behind closed doors today on whether to release a report on its investigation of former Representative Matt Gaetz, but the committee chairman said that there's no agreement on releasing the report. Yeah. Republican Representative Michael Guest, the committee's chairman, said, quote, there was not an agreement to release the report. And we're told that Republican member Representative David Joyce would only say that Guest and ranking Democrat Representative Susan Wild of Pennsylvania are expected to release a statement. Other members refused to answer questions. But Wild later told sources that she plans to release her own statement, saying, quote, it was a full-throated meeting. It was a robust discussion. But the majority of the 5 Democrats and 5 Republicans on the committee must approve the report's public disclosure. In other words, at least one Republican must break party rank to join Democrats to force a release. And so, meanwhile, Democratic Representative Sean Casten of Illinois plans to introduce a privileged resolution to try to force the Ethics Committee to release the report. No surprises here, but, then again, we're also hearing that the young woman who was allegedly assaulted by Representative Gaetz, and the person who witnessed it, they're talking, their lawyers are talking. And so, this story will continue to play out. Also happening in Washington right now, we know that Republican Representative Nancy Mace is making headlines again, making headlines because Nancy Mace has launched a Capitol bathroom rule before her trans colleagues' arrival. That's what's happening. And so, isn't it interesting that just a few weeks ago, closing argument in the election was about the economy? Remember that? We're talking about the economy, and how we need to do more to combat inflation. Remember all that? And now, in the final weeks of the year, the final weeks of this current legislative session, you got folks like Representative Nancy Mace out there focused on bathroom bills in Congress. That is what's happening. That is where we're at today. NPR is reporting that story. Surprise, surprise, with regard to our new Secretary of Education, President-elect Trump has nominated Linda McMahon, kept the WWE co-founder, a top ally, to be our education secretary. How is this even possible? I don't know. She apparently has no experience in secondary education or higher ed, but she is President-elect Trump's choice. another example of, at the end of the day, it's about loyalty. It's about loyalty. And what about your kids? What about our kids? You know, I mean, you really want the person leading the U.S. Department of Education to come in with no experience with regard to the mission of that agency? Now, there are some people that will make the argument, well, she doesn't really need to have experience. None of them really need to have experience as long as they know how to run an operation. If you can run a business, then you can run a government agency. That is the argument that we've heard from a lot of folks running for political office, particularly conservatives. As we've heard. But the results have been mixed at best. And so here we go with this experiment once again. And remote work. Are you ready for this remote work crackdown? How Trump's dodge could push federal workers to quit. What do I mean by dodge? Well, President-elect Trump's new Department of Government Efficiency. Get it? DOGE, it's acronym for that, Department of Government Efficiency. It's this non-governmental entity helmed by billionaire Elon Musk and biotech entrepreneur and former Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. It's expected to make a push for an end to remote work across federal agencies as a way to help reduce the federal workforce through attrition. Both Musk and Ramaswamy have recently publicly lamented the number of employees working remotely across the government. A source familiar with early discussions about the focus of DOGE, as the initiative is known, they told the folks over at CNN that while nothing is final, early priorities include an effort to immediately end remote work across federal agencies, making a 5-day work week a requirement for all federal employees. The thinking is this kind of mandate, coupled with moving agencies out of Washington, D.C., could cause many federal workers to voluntarily leave, helping the new Trump administration to thin out the federal workforce ranks and save government money. Ending remote work across government is being considered a potentially early candidate for executive orders that members of DOGE will recommend to Trump. It's definitely on the table, according to sources, though it's unclear how much they believe this will save the federal government. Wow. So remote work is a bad thing. Isn't it true that the flexibility that folks had particularly during the darkest days of the pandemic, didn't that make a huge difference in terms of the productivity of companies and organizations? And so if you get more productivity when people have more flexibility, and the whole point of your agency is about government efficiency, or so you say, seems at odds with what you say you've been created to do. And that's why we don't just watch what they say. We watch what they do. That's right. When we come forward, I am really excited to welcome our next guest. Sunjana Sekhar will be joining us next to talk about some of the work that they're doing on the front lines of change in this country, no matter who is claiming to be intent on making America great. We'll talk to them when we come forward. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at USO.org today.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
When you're rolling Charmin Ultra Soft on the potty, less is more, so roll it back, everybody. Charmin's irresistibly soft and hella nice. The grip is always soft. It's our party vibe. It's cushion and things, so our chicks feel fine. So what? Everybody wanna touch the sky.
Charmin Ultra Soft is irresistibly soft and more absorbent, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Point!
Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
Oh, I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down.
Ace!
You're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at Metamucil.com.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like the style, though.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on autopsy, then click on request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like your style, though.
Febreze.
So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up, then spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Every business faces challenges, but shipping shouldn't be one of them. Turn shipping to your advantage with USPS Ground Advantage from the United States Postal Service. Learn how at USPS.com/advantage. USPS Ground Advantage. Simple, affordable, reliable.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The NFL said it has no issues with players doing the Trump dance to celebrate a touchdown or a big play, but the league had all sorts of issues with players kneeling during the national anthem 4 years ago to protest social injustices after George Floyd's death. With more players doing the Trump dance since he won the presidential election, the NFL was forced to respond on whether the dance is a violation of the league's celebration rules. The NFL said the Trump dance is not a violation because, in their view, the dance is not a political statement. When some players wanted to kneel during the national anthem to protest police brutality, it became a political statement. Fans, politicians, and some NFL owners said kneeling was disrespectful to the U.S. flag and military. Trump was president when he called the players who wanted to kneel SOBs. It's obvious the NFL has its own definition of political statements. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nick Cordelaya-Corte. And, look, I don't have to tell you that KBLA has been committed to climate justice throughout the year. In fact, we've launched a climate justice initiative where we've raised millions of dollars to really amplify the work of change makers on the front lines, folks like my next guest, who has been doing extraordinary work in the climate justice and environmental justice space as a storyteller. Sunjana Sekar, she's a filmmaker and a climate activist. Her latest short story, Cabbage Kora, a prognostic autobiography, is the winner of the 2022 Climate Fiction Contest. And she's here with us today. Welcome to the show, Sunjana.
Hi, Dr. Cordelaya. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for the work that you do. And for our leaders, learners, and listeners that are less familiar, tell us a little bit about this short story that is award winning, that is really helping to raise consciousness around one of the biggest challenges for human life today, which is combating climate change.
Yes, I would love to. And thank you for that question. So the short story is called Cabbage Kora, and I call it prognostic autobiography, which is a term I really just sort of made up because the story, which I submitted to Grist's Imagine 2200 climate fiction contest, is all about imagining any era or genre of Earth between now and 2200 through a solutionist lens. So what are some of the ways that people can move through the challenges that we face and look for solutions, because there are plenty, right? And so the anthology itself that Grist put together, my story is just one of many in that anthology. And the way that I approached the story was I was thinking about what I could write and what I might feel some sense of expertise or ownership around when it comes to climate. And I really thought I was going to write something that was all about climate technology and 2100 or something cool like that. But I realized I don't know anything about that. And what I really know about is my own life. And what I was really feeling anxiety around was what my life is going to look like as climate change takes its toll in the next several decades while I'm alive. So what I did was I took an interaction between me, my mom, and my grandma, one that really happened last year, and I used that as a basis for an intergenerational story that kind of melds food and dance and technology over the next several decades of my own life. So most autobiographies, as we know, they sort of look back retrospectively on an author's life. I looked forward and I tried to imagine what would my life look like in 2047 and in 2077 when I might have a daughter, when I might have a granddaughter. What would that look like as climate change takes its toll and as we all as a family respond to those things, trying to protect what we love while also losing what we're probably going to lose.
I mean, just what a very innovative way to get people to think about the future and connect it to the now. And more importantly, think about the future connected to, well, what behaviors, what investments, what way of life we have right now. And, storytelling is a terrific way to raise consciousness, to raise awareness, but also to create empathy and to humanize the impacts of something that right now, as we sit here, we know that there are politicians that still today, despite the evidence, believe that climate change is a hoax. And so, how did you take that on in your project, that recognizing that we live in a time where, not just politicians, but there are a lot of people that believe that climate change is a hoax?
Yeah, great question. I think what's interesting to me, and you're kind of touching on this, is I feel like the world is really a battle of narratives in so many ways. And the fossil fuel industry and the billionaires that fund it, that benefit from it, they've had the money to really be spearheading climate storytelling for decades. And so they've been crafting the narrative. They've been building the world that we all are now moving through. And I think the really powerful thing to do as communities around the world is to reclaim that narrative. And what I mean by that is really for climate justice, it's a marketing problem in so many ways. And I think storytelling has this opportunity, especially now, especially given the political landscape that we're stepping into, as you mentioned. There's such a creative challenge here of how can we step up our messaging strategy in such a way that climate justice is the hottest place to be. It's the place that everyone wants to be a part of. It's a movement that people see themselves in, a movement that they understand as an upgrade to their lives, rather than the way that fossil fuel tends to market or tends to demonize climate action as a place of sacrifice and a place where you have to give up the things you love and the things that feel convenient and good for you. Actually, we need to sort of spin that and say, we are trying to make our lives better. And this is something that benefits 99% of us. It's just that 1%, the people that tend to have the majority of the wealth, that perhaps are in some way going to have to give something up. And that's why they don't want us to know this, right? They don't want us to realize that it's a movement for our collective health. So
when we come forward, we're talking to filmmaker and climate activist Sunjana Sekhar. Sunjana's latest short story, Cabbage Cora, a prognostic autobiography, is the winner of the 2022 Climate Fiction Contest. When we come forward, I want to talk a lot about why Hollywood is moving beyond climate disaster movies to stories about sustainable climate futures And Sujino, I also want to ask you why the false binary of dystopia and utopia is lifting, and how the concept of Trutopia may be our way to the future. You're listening to and streaming a More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More will we come forward.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 things you should know from BIN News. The defense in Daniel Penny's subway chokehold trial began Tuesday, highlighting Penny's background and a black man, Jordan Neely's mental health struggles, including schizophrenia and drug use. Penny's mother testified about his upbringing. The trial resumes on Thursday. The illegal immigrant convicted of killing Georgia nursing student Laken Riley is being sentenced to life without parole. Jose Ibarra was found guilty on all 10 counts by the judge who handed down the verdict after Ibarra waived his right to a jury trial. The case drew national attention and was a focus of the presidential election. Roughly 11% of Americans have high cholesterol. That's according to a new report by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention using data from 2021 to 2023. And Black Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown and a bipartisan group are urging Congress to pass the Kids Online Safety Act this year, citing youth mental health concerns tied to social media. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Every business faces challenges, but shipping shouldn't be one of them. Turn shipping to your advantage with USPS Ground Advantage from the United States Postal Service. Learn how at USPS.com/advantage. USPS Ground Advantage. Simple, affordable, reliable.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The NFL said it has no issues with players doing the Trump dance to celebrate a touchdown or a big play. But the league had all sorts of issues with players kneeling during the national anthem 4 years ago to protest social injustices after George Floyd's death. With more players doing the Trump dance since he won the presidential election, the NFL was forced to respond on whether the dance is a violation of the league's celebration rules. The NFL said the Trump dance is not a violation because, in their view, the dance is not a political statement. When some players wanted to kneel during the national anthem to protest police brutality, it became a political statement. Fans, politicians, and some NFL owners said kneeling was disrespectful to the U.S. flag and military. Trump was president when he called the players who wanted to kneel SOBs. It's obvious the NFL has its own definition of political statements. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, where climate is king. Climate is king.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks VapoStick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks VapoStick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors.
Use as directed. VapoStick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max use for adults only.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline nasal spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down. Get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, and really enjoying this conversation with Sunjana Sekhar. She is a filmmaker and climate activist. You might have heard about her latest short story, Cabbage Cora, a prognostic autobiography. It's winner of the 2022 Climate Fiction Contest. And Sanjana, before the break, I was teasing the question around why Hollywood is moving beyond climate disaster movies to stories about sustainable climate futures. It's pretty remarkable. I mean, it feels like just yesterday, former Vice President Al Gore was out there, on the front lines championing, climate justice work as a storyteller, right? Former Vice President turned storyteller, championing, documentaries like Inconvenient Truth that, if I remember correctly, went on to be nominated and I think win an Academy Award. How far we've come since then. Talk to us about the current landscape in Hollywood and why Hollywood executives are deciding to move beyond climate disaster movies to invest more in films that are about that sustainable climate future, not just in front of the camera, but behind the camera.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I think this is something that, first of all, I would love to see more of. I think that predominantly the narrative is still, unfortunately, the dystopia. But what it was really exciting is I think that in Hollywood, there is a huge movement to change that. And there are a lot of people who are realizing that there's so much drama and so much human intrigue that comes with stories of people trying to make things better. I think a great example is Abbott Elementary, where Quinta Brunson really beautifully weaves in stories of climate justice, but you wouldn't necessarily look at the show and be like, oh, that's a climate action show. So I think the storytelling there is really masterful. And then one other example I can think of is Wakanda in the Marvel franchise, which to me is an incredible example of solar punk, because it's a place where nature and technology work together. And I think stories like that are starting to pop up here and there, and I would love to see that become more of the mainstream movement.
So you and me both, and I think so many of our leaders, learners, and listeners, have an interest. I mean, we all have an interest in climate justice. If you are listening to this show right now and breathing any sort of air, hopefully it's as clean as possible.
Right.
You have an interest, in making sure that this planet is healthy enough to allow us to live in peace and not have to walk around wearing oxygen masks. I mean, I remember being on a trip to Beijing, China, and it's not unusual. The pollution there is so bad that on some days you will see everyday people wearing oxygen masks in Beijing, China. Right. And so,
Right.
it is not hard to imagine how bad things can get if we take our foot off the gas in terms of doing everything we can to address the challenges around climate change and really, usher in an era around climate resilience. And storytelling is a part of how we do that. It is one of, if not the most powerful tools to question things and to be, aspirational. And so, in that spirit, I want to ask you to unpack this idea of the sort of false binary of dystopias and utopias and how limiting those can be as opposed to through utopias. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, this is my favorite topic. I feel like for so long, climate storytelling has been dystopian because people think, okay, climate change, immediately the world is ending, right? And I think that's fair because climate change is very scary. But the problem to me is people will say there's no other option, there's no other way to tell the stories, right? If it's not dystopia, it's utopia, because utopia is the opposite, the only other choice, and utopia is boring. And so we don't want to tell stories about utopia because where's the drama is the argument, right? And to me, I have a couple issues with that because first of all, I feel like utopia is kind of a false idea to begin with. I feel like it's defined so differently depending on who you're talking to. My utopia might be totally different from your utopia. So, what does that even mean? And I think secondly, like you said, that's such a false binary because it's not one or the other. There are so many stories. And I think really every story is about that space in between where you're trying to get from where you are to someplace better. And there is so much drama, so much human story that you can capitalize on, whether it's through film or literature or really any other storytelling modality. And I think that is where we can start to look for inspiration and for comfort and for motivation as we try to wayfind through the current climate crisis.
Do you think that the media landscape is becoming too fragmented to really appreciate the sort of climate justice storytelling that is ratcheting up? I mean, right now, as we sit here, there are more communications channels than ever, right? It's not like you're going to a handful of big studios to, get a film made, or going to, a handful of networks to, share your stories with the masses. But, there are more film festivals than ever. There are, so many more, social media channels. Talk to us about how that's helpful, but also how that makes your work a bit more challenging.
Yeah, I think there's so many pros and cons as you allude to. I think the ways in which that's helpful is that storytelling in many ways is democratized now. So I can get on Instagram and talk about something that matters to me and people will see it. And that is really powerful because as an organizing tool, as a narrative shifting tool, as a community empowerment tool, that's pretty unprecedented that we don't have to go, like you said, to certain major studios or certain major networks in order to even be heard. So I think that's really important. On the other hand, I think when we live in an algorithmic world, the people that you reach tend to be people that already engage with the same niche as you. So it does really speak to that fragmentation that you mentioned, in the sense that it's, even for me, sometimes I'm like, I don't really know how to reach people outside of my bubble, outside of my echo chamber, because I feel like the algorithm won't let me, And so I feel like it's again, almost a creative opportunity for us of how do we start to move differently and figure out the ways that we can get these technologies to work for us and to work better for us so that we're actually getting the results and the impact that we're looking for.
And speaking of getting the results and impact that we're looking for, a lot of folks are still reeling. Some might say healing. Some others might say grieving from the November 5th election, as President-elect Trump is making headlines every day with appointments to his cabinet, including former, oil executives, to high positions. I believe the new Secretary of Energy, or at least his nominee for energy, is someone that comes out of the oil industry, oil and fossil fuel industry. And, we can expect a whole lot more of that, right? But talk to us about how you are reconciling the results from the November 5th election and how that is informing the next iteration of your work. I mean, some might say that your job as a storyteller, as a climate justice storyteller, has become a bit more challenging, a bit more difficult. Some might even say maybe even a bit more interesting with this plot twist from the recent election.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot. I think you're on the mark on so many levels. This election to me really made it clear that there has been a messaging failure in a lot of the fields that I work in, that I'm probably personally involved in as well. There's been a failure to reach a lot of people. And I think that, like you said, there's a lot of emotion around that. So I definitely feel heavy, but I also feel very determined. I think that the forces that we've always been working against are now clearly concentrated in one place for us to look at, for us to put faces to. And our job now is to respond. And I think to get organized. I feel like that's something that their team has been doing for the last 8 years. And, I think those of us that are fighting for climate justice have also been organizing, but I think this is a real wake-up call to include people that maybe we didn't realize we were missing, and to do so in a way that is going to really speak truth to power. I heard Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said it really well right after the election, where she was like, again, kind of alluding to this idea of a battle of narratives. And she said, we typically think of this as a fight between left and right, but really it's a fight between top and bottom. And that really resonated with me, because I think when you look at big oil or big pharma or big agriculture, any of these things that are making our baseline very unhealthy, and like you were saying earlier, you want clean air, you want clean water, you want clean food, you want to be able to trust that you're moving through this world and you have access to things that are good for you, not things that are poisoning you. And remembering that, these are the things that we're fighting. I think for me as a communicator, I'm realizing, okay, it's time to really get real and to sharpen those skills, even if it's uncomfortable and I have to pay attention to things that make me angry. I have to look, and I really have to not turn away from those things anymore.
Our thanks to Sunjana Sekar, our very special guest today. Again, her latest short story is Cabbage Cora, a prognostic autobiography. Where can people go to watch your film, or where's your film going to be screening in the coming weeks and months?
Great question. So the films that I've made are online. You can find them on my website, which is sanjanasekar.com, or links to them will be there. And the short story is currently in a published print anthology called Metamorphosis, Climate Fiction for a Better Future. And you can find that at your local bookstore or online.
Fantastic. Thank you for the work that you do. And I hope that after we get through the holidays that you'll come back with us to update us on some of the work that you're doing, and keep your climate justice storytelling front and center.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nicordell. I really appreciate you having me today.
Appreciate having you. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580, the quiet part out loud when we come forward.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
This season, Chevy brings classic pairings, cookies and milk, mistletoe and kisses, and your holiday plans and a new Chevy. Silverado 1500 gives you power and capability with 430 pound-feet of torque to haul your holiday tree. The Equinox EV and all-new Equinox, America's best compact SUV for new vehicle quality by J.D. Power, offer both confidence and style to see you through the holiday season. It's easy to see why Chevy makes everything better and brighter. Find your red tag. Get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select popular Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Award based on 2024 models for J.D. Power 2024 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information. Visit jdpower.com/awards. Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Silverado, Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment is 22.2%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12/2/2024.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
Hey! You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and y'all ready for the holidays? Miles, you ready? Miles is our sound engineer extraordinaire. Miles, you ready for the holidays? You sticking around here in LA?
Hell yeah, I'm ready.
Are you ready to eat, or are you ready to get in the kitchen and do your thizzle?
Ready to be around family.
You're ready to be around family.
Ready to be around some fans. Ready to fellowship with the fam. I'm ready to recharge the fam. The fam's been down lately.
Yeah. I mean, look, this has been a topsy-turvy, sort of year. And I'm not just talking about, the most recent election, but, the holidays is a special time for some. For others, it's packed with a little bit of stress. But for a low stress Thanksgiving, the folks over at the Washington Post are saying, get a head start on your cooking. Now, I've shared the story a million times. My parents met at a tiny HBCU in Tyler, Texas College. And one of the local businesses there that's still there today is Greenberg Smoked Turkeys. Greenberg Smoked Turkeys. And there have been many holidays where we have enjoyed Greenberg smoked turkeys that are shipped to order. And it is a delicious bird. And in my opinion, I think a lot of the stress around Thanksgiving is around that bird. I think people stress over cooking this turkey. And quiet as it's kept, I'm not sure if everybody is in love with turkey. I think turkey is a tradition. I don't think folks start salivating at the mouth, waiting for a taste of that Thanksgiving turkey. But I just think that the process of cooking the turkey can be really stressful. And so why not outsource it, right? And so, if you all are considering going out to get that turkey and thawing it and doing all the things to prep it and cook it safely and properly, you might want to look at an alternative, a pretty good alternative. I can attest to it. Greenberg smoked turkeys. Check it out. I think it's been one of Oprah Winfrey's favorite things for a number of years, but even way before that, my parents put me on to Greenberg smoked turkeys. And like I said, we've enjoyed it many holidays. But continuing with this idea of a low stress Thanksgiving, the Washington Post is reporting that hundreds of Thanksgiving meals through the years, some of the hosts for entire dinners, while others attend family and friend potlucks. There's a lot of stress involved there. But among us, turkey lovers and haters and traditionalists and rebels, there's one thing that we can all agree on. It's this: having a roster of dishes that can be made in advance is the key to success and remaining calm in the kitchen. That's the key. That's the key. And if you're new to hosting the holidays, the Washington Post provides this really cool, handy dandy menu guide. And even if you're an experienced cook, you may want to find a recipe or two that will inspire you or help you plan. And many of the make ahead tips can apply to your favorite way to make turkey, macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes, and more. And so part of how we get to a more perfect union is a more perfect holiday season. And Thanksgiving, guess what? You're up. And so you all may want to check that out, courtesy of our friends over at the Washington Post. While you're migrating over to the Washington Post to check out that article, there are a lot of people that are migrating from X, formerly known as Twitter, onto Blue Sky. Blue Sky, an X competitor, Guess what? It's up 500% since the election. And there are big questions as to how they will handle the surge. That's right. The day after the presidential election, the social media landscape, it shook. On Elon Musk's X, more than 115,000 users deactivated their accounts, the largest ever mass exit from the platform. At the same time, traffic on Blue Sky, a smaller rival to X, began to soar, with daily usage climbing some 500% in the United States. That's according to data from SimilarWeb. Putting more control in the hands of users is what distinguishes Blue Sky from X, formerly known as Twitter, and a lot of other rival social media sites. Rather than having one master algorithm, Blue Sky allows for more personalized experiences. And by default, there are three main feeds. One shows accounts that you follow, another shows what your friends follow, and a discover feed surfaces posts linked to your interests. That's interesting. Blue Sky allows users to reach beyond these three by developing their own customized algorithm for, say, just content about cats, or only post about a sports team or a type of music. And so because of this customization, there are experts who say that there are more than 50,000 different Blue Sky feeds available. And so if you're kind of wondering what's all the hubbub around Blue Sky, why are people flocking to Blue Sky? This is part of the reason why. And Blue Sky, some folks argue, is, quotes, billionaire proof. You see, since the company is not one centralized feed of content, but rather a protocol from which endless feeds can be created, think of a protocol like email or the internet itself. It would be difficult for a single person or company to control it, since the underlying technology is open source and maintained by many contributors like Wikipedia, right? And so since Musk took over Twitter 2 years ago, the site has collapsed content guardrails. It's laid off more than 80% of employees and turned the site's verification badges into a pay-to-play system where users can pay to amplify the reach of their posts. And in the months leading up to the election, Musk, a major Trump donor, a major Trump surrogate, and now a White House advisor, has used the platform to boost his support of the former president and promote right-wing views. And so y'all may want to check out Blue Sky. I'm on Blue Sky. I think I'm Dr. NQQ on Blue Sky. And so if you're on there, follow me and I'll follow you back. Look, I'm on a number of platforms, as you all know. But Blue Sky really sort of stood out to me because of the customization of the algorithm. I thought that was sort of new and different. And while you're at it, I'm going to show the Spill Gang some love. I'm also on the Spill app, and you should be too, especially given the Spades tournament, if we want to call it that. I'm going to win. But we'll call it a Spades tournament with our favorite April Rain. She challenged me on air to a Spades tournament, and so I've got to do my duty and take care of that. And so go ahead and download the Spill app, and we'll be announcing our virtual sort of Spades tournament over the holidays. But you should know that the Spill app is Black owned. And it is a safe space, for Black and brown folks, for LGBTQ folks, to be in community with one another. The co-founder, Fonz Terrell, who's been a guest on this show, used to work at Twitter. A number of folks there used to work at Twitter, and they left there and they started their own platform to do the thing that Twitter wasn't interested in doing at the time, and apparently still isn't interested in doing. And so folks say, get off that Twitter, that ex-narcotic, and head over to Blue Sky, head over to Spill. We'll have to leave it there. My thanks to the entire village that helps us produce a more perfect union each and every day. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley. Our sound engineer extraordinaire, Miles Lowe. as well as our show producer, Robert Battles, and podcast publishing guru, Odell Bodie. Remember, don't panic, organize. Do what you can from where you are with what you have. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, and you have been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA.